Pat O Toole from the Farmers Journal news desk here. We're at the last CAP consultation meeting in Claremorris. I'm joined by Colm O'Donnell. Colm is the president of the Irish Natura and Hill Farmers Association. Colm, I suppose the INHFA in many ways was formed out of the disappointment farmers felt in this. Disappointment is probably not strong enough a word that farmers felt in the last CAP process and outcome. What are you hoping for from this process?
Well, I suppose in the first instance, Pat, it would be vitally important that the budget is retained and enhanced given the circumstances and the geographical situation where Ireland is going to be the nearest neighbour to a non-EU country. I think at this stage it's up to the parliamentarians who have co-decision and all the Oireachtas members to lobby hard to ensure that that budget is maintained, if not increased, because we've had no increase in CAP for quite some time, so it would be important in order to ensure that farming continues, especially in the areas that we represent, that the budget is maintained. And I suppose, the last time round, the big figure is the 80% and the 20%, where 80% of the money went to 20% of the farmers. A fairer distribution. Having said that, I think that primarily what we need to look at now is secure the budget. I think that farmers in hill areas are not looking for anything over and above the rest. They're just looking for a bit of fairness. We're especially and particularly looking for recognition by the state for having our lands designated. That was overlooked last time, even though it was an option in Pillar 1, where Natura 2000 networked lands could have had up to 5% of the basic payment paid out to Natura land. That wasn't done. It's a small price task for the state.
Are we talking about a minimum payment in effect then for designated farms?
We're looking for, we have options in Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. The Pillar 2 options are management options for management of those ecosystems and habitats. What we're looking for is a Natura payment. It's there, provided for in the regulation. It was there like coupling, like voluntary coupling as an option in Pillar 1. The Minister must ensure that that's there at his disposal as an option that he can consider once the budget is secured. And that is something that the INHFA are strongly looking for this time round.
Outside of that, I suppose the type of farming engaged on the hills, it's ecologically very sensitive, but how farmers are getting older. Renewal of farmers on the hills is something that's become an issue. Are things much more significantly worse than they were the last time we considered the CAP, which is only 6 years ago?
That's right. Well, I think the average age is 57 at the moment. While I would say in the current programme there are incentives there for young farmers, for young trained farmers, for the young farmer scheme with the 25% top up, but if there isn't an incentive for the retiring farmer to encourage that transition, it'll slow down the amount of available land that transfers.
Would you like to see that?
Absolutely.
That support the restoration of the retirement scheme?
The early farm retirement scheme. I think that the Minister made a press statement in recent times saying that he wasn't considering it. But I would sincerely hope that that's because his hands are tied in the current programme, that he doesn't have sufficient funding to introduce it for the remainder of the current CAP programme. But for the next programme, it would be essential that there is some incentive there for the retiring farmer. I benefited from it myself way back in the 90s. My parents were in their late 50s at the time, and they had commitments. They couldn't just walk away from their commitments. But they transferred the family farm to me. I had a young family growing up at the time, and that transition was smooth. And they had an income until they got to old age pension, which was 65 at the time. This would be a measure that we would be very supportive of. We've made a call. It's in our submission to the Commission, but it will also be in our submission from the association.
And if memory serves, not big bucks in the context of the overall CAP budget?
No, absolutely not. I think the maximum that could be drawn down at the time was 15,000 a year for any retiring farmers. So it's not a big budget. Look, farm partnerships work in some cases, but not in all cases, you know. And wouldn't it be great if we could see the next generation able to carry on a way of life? They're entitled to that way of life. It's it's in their DNA. It's part of who they are, and you know, I would ask nothing better than the legacy of the Irish Natura and Hill Farmers Association to say that, you know, we were in some shape or form able to, you know, shape that and indeed lobby on their behalf. So those would be some of the things we'd be looking for this time round. I do think that the definition of an active farmer, which is part of the simplification, it's in Phil Hogan's document, that does not discriminate unfairly against farmers who are very active and very productive on the land type that they're farming. You know, this genuine farmer that's in the submission, I would hope that you know, that it doesn't discriminate, because those farmers are very active. Traditionally, they've had to go off farm in order to, you know, supplement their farm income. You know, and they work a lot of hours on the farm, winter and summer.
So the focus should be on the activity on the farm rather than the fact that there's an income stream off the farm.
Well, what I'm saying is, if they redefine the definition, which is now going to be given to member states, currently it's. I think the definition is for farmers. The definition is if they conduct an agricultural activity. You know, so this time round, if there's more flexibility at member state level, it would not want to discriminate against them. You know, that's our position.
Colm, thanks very much.